Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Munns. In case you don't know me, I am now the executive director for Idaho Ripple Effect. I've been an activist in Idaho for about 20 years. And today I wanted to continue on with the series that I felt like was really important as a tribute to Idaho leaders, people that have been involved in leading groups. They have a specialty that they're offering, part of the movement. And so today I'm joined happily by Daniel Murphy. Daniel, thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be here, Tom.
Man, I'm so glad that you did that. I'm waiting for people to go, no, I don't want you to interview me. So I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to do it. I've had a lot of luck. I think one of the things that became apparent to me a long time ago is that when it's time to get busy, we do busy things. We don't really get to know each other. We know each other by name, maybe kids or certain things or whatever, but we don't really know people on a personal level. And I thought, I've been around a long time. Nobody's ever really done this, so I thought, why not me? I mean, it's a perfect way to be able to, to kick off the nonprofit, to be able to bring some sort of inclusivity, I guess, if you will. Although I have a hard time with that word, and you're really no exception to that list of Idaho leaders. In what you're doing, because you're doing something that nobody else is doing, and I think that needs to be highlighted not only in the area where you live, or down at the legislature. But hopefully, as we start getting statewide attention, people will know a little bit more about who Daniel is. So I thought maybe that this is going to be an easy interview, no trick questions or anything.
No
Um,
trick
and-
questions.
huh?
No trick questions, but I want to, before we get really started, I want to just say one thing. Um, Whenever I wash dishes, while I'm spraying for weeds, while I'm doing interviews, I always have a scratch right here every time, I swear to God. So I'm trying not to scratch my face too much for this interview.
Or while you're doing weeds?
Yeah, well, we have weeds. Idaho has weeds. I think
Yeah,
more weeds than any other state.
that's so funny. That's so funny. Well, so I thought I would start just by asking a lowball question. We know that we see you, we know you as who you are, we know that we can commonly find you with a camera, but very few people know anything about where you came from, what it was like, where you grew up as a child, what kind of background that you came from. So, Daniel, where did you come from? Are you from here?
No, I'm not. Actually, I was born in East LA of all places.
East LA.
That's right. I'm with the East LA tribe, and
All right.
so the first 9 years of my life, I grew up in Pomona, and I have to say our family was the poorest family in that city east of LA. And basically, the Catholic Church took care of us. It was my mother had 7 kids, and so we persevered. But I'll tell you what, we did a lot of things as a kid, and I wouldn't change my childhood for anything. Went to Catholic school, got a little discipline, learned the Bible a little bit, and my mom married in '64, and the stepdad got a job up in San Jose, California, as a high school teacher. So we went up to San Jose, and we became a little less poor. So we started my life over again as a 10-year-old in San Jose, California, all the way from around 64 to 76 when I moved down to Ventura County. But no, I had a great childhood. I had many friends, and so I mean, I don't think I would change anything in my childhood, even the days in Pomona. I mean, Pomona was a town back in those days where you could just go around and basically not have any fear of any kind of criminality, you might say. Although there was this one guy when we were kids, we called him Mr. Kidnapper because he'd ride around on a bike with one of those English golf hats, and we were scared of that guy. But no, I mean, my early days, 4 years of Catholic school, I think built a little relationship with me and the fellow upstairs, God, or our Savior Jesus Christ. And I went to public schools back in those days up in San Jose. Schools were pretty well ran. I didn't know who the teachers' husbands or wives were. They just came and taught us, and I think it was a great educational experience when I was going through the end of elementary, junior high, and high school. During those years, I was into sports, although I wasn't really a good baseball player. We played flag football at this park that I live nearby. Had a lot of friends, got along with everyone, and I was smart enough to know that you hang out with the big guys. I never was bullied or picked on per se, unless it was kind of fun. One little short story, if you don't mind. My friends, they were 1 year older than me. They wanted to dump me upside down in the trash can. And I noticed the principal walking down the breezeway, and I said, "Hey, can you guys wait about 30 seconds?" And they got the weirdest look on their face. So they did. And then I go, "Okay, now." They put me upside down in the trash can. It was about the same time the principal walked by. So I got the last laugh. So I'll tell you what, my childhood was very rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I got to play summer league baseball because I begged the coach to let me on the team. And I begged him so much that I told him he didn't have to play me. I just wanted to play catch with my friends. This is in after I graduated in 1972. So I guess now everyone knows my age. I did hit the big 7-0 last November. I'll tell you what, that's a tough number, I'm telling you. But I'm here, and some people don't make it to 70. So I'm praising the God, praising the Lord. I'm here and still being able to do stuff. So anyway, that
Wow,
was my early childhood. Growing up, I just look back on all those great memories. Hanging with my good friends and graduating high school, joining the Navy right out of high school. You know,
that's crazy.
yeah.
What did you do in the Navy?
Well, I went down to join the Navy at 17 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to college. I was an average student, maybe B minus, C plus type kid. I'm a lot more attuned about education now. But I was just having fun during the summer of 72. Finally, my uncle, my brother-in-law, "Why don't you join the Navy?" I didn't even think of that the day before. So I went down to the recruiter, and he said I was going to meet the best looking women and have the baddest whiskey that I'll ever taste. And I said, "Well, I'm only 17. He goes, "That's okay. You can drink in the Navy." So I'm not saying that encouraged me, but I did join the Navy right out of high school. And
Was it legal to join at 17?
yeah, you have to have your parents sign
Oh, okay. All right.
though, so it is legal. Uh,
Okay.
so I went to San Diego boot camp for about 2.5 months. And then ironically, my term was 3 months and pick your coast. So since I grew up in San Jose, I picked the West Coast, and my ship was stationed right in Alameda, right next to Oakland. So I was always home. And
Mm.
um, people would say, "I thought you were in the Navy." I said, "I am." But anyways, my job in the Navy was I worked on the flight deck, the various jobs on the flight deck, chalking
Are you
airplanes.
the guy that's going like this? You know what I mean?
I
With
had
there,
that job for a while.
that's
Uh,
got to be insane, man.
well, it was not only exciting, it was very dangerous up on the flight deck. You really got to be paying attention at all times, especially at night. You have to just be on your toes. I When I was I was waving this A3 on the catapult, and it's such a tall airplane that I had to stand at the top of the bow. And all of a sudden, I hear this noise. They hadn't retracted the big metal ropes back to
Uh,
their airplane, so it caught me in the heel and threw me up about 3 feet, and I landed square on my back, and I was evenly distributed on that fall. But I I hear in the walkie-talkies on your ears, "Corbin to the bow, Corbin to the bow." So they took me
well,
down to the sick bay and everything. I was okay, but they gave me 7 days of light duty, and that was just one story. But so I became the compartment cleaning petty officer at the time. So
well, I got to ask you something though. Hang on. So, I mean, so I'm getting these visions of Top Gun, Maverick and all that, and I was looking at that. And I'm like, it just would have been intense to be there and have those things come up and have the planes just shoot out of there. So, forgive me for my own ignorance, but the catapult is that thing that moves that helps launch the plane, right?
that's right.
Okay. And then when the plane lands, like if you're watching the movie, I don't know, I'm a Maverick fan, but so when the plane comes in, whether it's got landing gear or not, is that the metal cables you're talking about? So they
Yes,
pull them they
on
they
my
pull them
ship,
apart?
yeah, there was arresting cables. There was four of them on my ship, and the planes land at full power. A lot of people don't know that. They land at 100% full power in case they miss the cable or the hook bounces over the cable, and so they can take off
They can
again,
take the,
right again. Yeah.
oh
And so,
my,
yeah.
that's got to be, I mean, that'll cut your head off, I bet. If, right? I mean, when that thing, the tension, right?
Yeah, what happens is when it pulls the wire, there's a big giant machine underneath the flight deck that it doesn't stretch like a rubber band. The
Mm,
wires get pulled away from its original position, but then the machine is kind of rewinding it at the same time. So it's a whole process of making sure that the wires don't just snap, proper at the wrong time. But we never had a wire snap, and a wire can actually cut people's legs right in two, just like butter. So
I'll
you
bet.
be very careful of landing. And I'm 15 feet from afterburner, with the flames coming out of the jets and whatnot. That's
Yeah.
why I have these right now. And
It,
so, I mean, I think I'm 70% gone just because of the flight deck. Working with the loud, back in the day, we just had these plastic ear things with the, not the dense foam, but the opposite of dense, loose foam. And that was
yeah.
they didn't have the little squeezy things that you put in your ears back in those days. But we persevered, got to go to Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Philippines, Australia. Um, I thought we made two Westpac cruises, and my ship was involved in the fall of Saigon on
Mm,
April 29th and 30th of
wow.
1975. So that was we didn't know its history at the time. We were just doing our job.
Mm,
Our planes were supporting the evacuation of Saigon by American and other personnel. As a matter of fact, we also provided air support when they put 5,000 babies and toddlers on a big giant C-5. They just
mm.
in the back end of the big giant airplane to take them off to the Philippines, and then they were adopted all over the world. So we saved a lot of orphans from the communists back in 1975.
Did you see anything scary happening to you?
Well,
Right? Everybody's like, I'm not going to ask you if you killed anybody. That's just dumb. But I mean, there has to have been like when you're good, stuff happens, right? I mean, near misses or you're seeing Russian MiGs or whatever the heck you're seeing, right? Was
really, I mean, I didn't. I mean, my on the flight deck or on the ship, there was really nothing that I can really recall that would be scary, other than making sure that you got your head on straight when you're on the flight deck during flight operations. We had a fellow who passed away because he was painting back in those days. They had lead paint, and he closed the space, and the fumes got to him. So those are kind of things that accidents happen on the aircraft carrier or any ship, realistically.
mm,
Um, I visited ports, and a lot of the sailors, they would go to the red light district immediately.
uh,
I knew that I might not never get back to the country, so I would always sign up for tours. So I made all-day tours, like in Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore, Australia, and I also knew that sometimes those tours would appear or happen on my duty day. So I would get an extra day where I wouldn't have to stay on the ship all day long, 24 hours. So I kind of knew the right people around the ship, and I have to say, I knew most everyone on the ship because, it's just when you needed something, you go get help. And even the commander in the first cruise was one of my friends, and
but
he would talk to me. And then the next cruise, he became a captain. So I had a captain as a friend on the ship, which helped out a few times.
well, you seem to know that kind of carries with you today, man. Everybody knows Daniel, right? It's pretty cool. Um, so
I want to say one thing about these friends. I mean, it just they're in my heart for life.
yeah,
Okay, I may not see them for any time longer, or whatever, and but they always stick in my memory and in my heart regarding all my friends over the years.
yeah, well, yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, you have so we went through you were talking about how you grew up and all of that. It's kind of funny in some of the other interviews I've had with people, they were telling me that they were a different political affiliation now than they were. Did you think that you had that? Were you less? patriotic, if you will, when you were younger? Were your parents pretty grounded that way?
I was patriotic. I even wrote the White House, Lyndon Johnson, when you're a kid, you just believe the president is the king of the country, kind of in a way. And
Yep.
I actually wrote the president and I got a letter back. And not only that, we were taking apart a swing set in the backyard. So I kept a couple of the poles and I buried one end into the ground in front of the house. And I actually built a flagpole when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And so and of course, naturally, I was alive when Kennedy was shot
Wow.
in Dallas, and we watched TVs for 4 days straight, as you know. And that's when I got to, knowing about politics and whatever. Back, fast forward to about 1968 when Martin Luther King died. I think it was the 4th of April. And then my mother was a Democrat, like a JFK type Democrat.
Hmm.
And she, on the California primary in 1968, she kind of, wanted me to go walk the neighborhood for our Robert F. Kennedy. So I did
Oh,
and talk to people. I didn't really know what I was saying. I'm just an eighth grader. Vote for Robert Kennedy. And so, anyways, it was tragic when she woke me up about midnight, telling me that he was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. So after that, I just lost. I don't know, not lost interest, but lost touch with politics because when you're in the Navy, through high school, okay, the Vietnam War is going on, and you trust the government, okay, to do the right thing regarding war.
mhm.
Unfortunately, as time goes on, you realize that Lyndon B. Johnson, he escalated the war in Vietnam with the fraudulent Gulf of Tonkin resolution, which allowed the Congress to continually fund the war. And that led to 58,000 plus Americans dying. And I consider LBJ to be the biggest mass murderer of all time because looking back, Kennedy wanted to end the war because after the French pulled out, he finally realized, well, it's maybe a losing proposition. And that sticks with me to this day because I'm a Vietnam veteran and I know so many others who have suffered injuries and are disabled vets. And what they did to veteran or, the military back in those days was sticks with me to this day. But when you're a kid, okay, let's fight the communists, let's go for it. And so basically, when I was in the Navy, you're not really political in the Navy. And I really wasn't when I got out of the Navy until probably 1980, I would say. When Ronald Reagan came to San Jose, I was at San Jose State as a photojournalist student. And I got to take photos right up front. The Secret Service let me right up front. And I had a way of basically letting them know that I'm not a threat and got some great photos. And I really enjoyed the Reagan years. I got to meet him in Santa Barbara because he'd fly into, well, I actually covered him because I worked at a newspaper in Ventura County when he'd fly into Point Mugu to go up to Santa Barbara to his
Yeah.
summer home. So that's a little bit about what I did.
Well, tell me about you mentioned photos, and anybody that knows you knows that you carry cameras everywhere. You're very particular, if I could say so, in a complimentary way. Um, but when did you have a love for cameras? When did you put a camera in your hand? Tell us how that all started.
Well, again, it started in the Navy because I would go on these tours and I bought my first Minolta SRT 102. So I wanted to, I took photographs and I would make prints and I would sell them to the sailors who did go on tours and they wanted to send them to their wives to make sure that the wives thought they were going to be a good boy overseas, So I had a little side income well, over there. But after I got out of the Navy, I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be a disc jockey. I had an uncle who owned a couple of radio stations. But as time went on, I switched over to photojournalism at a local junior college out of Thousand Oaks, California. And then I transferred up to San Jose State and I learned wet processing, in the dark room. I spent hours and hours and hours learning how to be a great black and white, processor.
Mhm.
And so everything just evolved. Going to San Jose State, doing assignments. My first job out of San Jose State was in New Mexico at a small little paper in Gallup, New Mexico, and that's I guess the hometown, you might say, of the Indian Reservation. The Navajo Reservation is just a few miles north. I mean, Window Rock is the capital, but we a lot of business by the Navajo tribe. They were down in Gallup, but so I spent a year in Gallup. I really liked it because of the fact that I got to learn about the Navajo tribe and got to travel around the Southwest a little bit. So that was rewarding. And then moved back to Thousand Oaks after about a year, and I started to do freelancing. I started to work for a magazine, a couple of newspapers, and so finally, I persevered because when I moved back, it was after a divorce, and that made me penniless, and no one likes to be penniless.
It could do that to you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had to live with my sister for a year, and so um, it was tough. I was a security guard at the local mall. I mean, here's a guy who loves to take photos walking around, but you know what? It wasn't that bad of a job. I got to talk to all the young, cute gals that were working at the mall. But anyway, and then one thing led to another. I got the small jobs. I got my first wedding in 1982 and got other jobs and, just built up my photography. And in 84, I became the LA County Fair, Los Angeles County Fair official photographer. I went around the state covering county fairs for
Wow.
income. I one big job paid me $5,400 in 1984. So I used that to build a studio. And so I had a studio for the next 15, 20 years and had a great business. Everyone wanted me to be there. Not everyone, sometimes you don't get hired every time someone asks you to do something. But a couple of times newlywed would come up to me and say, I wish you were my photographer. I go, well, you had a chance. So I've been doing photography ever since 1977, including my college years. And I'm still doing it as a volunteer, a retired professional photographer.
And it's wonderful to be able to have you do that.
Yeah.
And just in case anybody's interested, if they happen to see my profile picture, that's compliments of Daniel Murphy. um, so take us on a little bit more, or go into how you ended up coming to Idaho.
Well, I have a son, Nate. Uh,
Yes.
I call him Nathan still, but he likes to go by Nate. And he's a great guy. We had tough times when he's a teenager, and I'll tell you what, when any parent understands, sometimes the teenage years can be tough. But then he went in the Army and came out really great. And he's a great son, and many people know him now. Good conservative up in Eagle.
Yes.
And he had decided he wanted out of California in 2016. So they looked around and finally settled on Eagle. And I was semi-retired at the time. I was working golf at a golf course, a golf store. I'm an expert golf fitter, so I can fit people for golf clubs and other things related to golf. I was a substitute teacher, and I'd also been a high school football, baseball, and softball referee and umpire since 1977, also for 45 years. So I had a lot of irons in the fires going on at the same time, just to make that living and saving money and everything. Well, after my son moved up in the late 16, but right before Snowmageddon, I thought to myself, heck, I can do all these things I'm doing semi-retired up in Idaho.
Uh-huh.
So I came up to visit, and a friend of mine who I went to high school with, he came by and he said, hey, I know that I'm going to rent you this house. He was the founder of Idaho Pizza, by the way.
Yes.
Control, what a great guy. And he did pass away a few years ago. He started, so he has me living in one of his properties right now. And I take care of it. And his widow is the person who handles all the business. But I decided to move up in I'm going to say early 2017. I arrived on August 11th of 2017, and I've been here ever since. And when I go on a little trip, it kind of, after a few days, I go, man, I miss Idaho already, And so that's how I got to Idaho. And I'm going to tell you about how I got into politics, if you don't
For
mind.
sure. No, that was my next question.
Okay. Well, I didn't really know anyone. Um, I knew my son's neighbors. We would have get-togethers there, and I didn't know anything. So, in like 2019, I finally decided. Um, I we all know our good buddy Ryan Davidson, the commissioner of Ada County.
For sure.
He was the chairman of the Ada County Central Committee at the time. So I went up to him one day and I said, "Hey, I want to get more involved there with something, and maybe I could take photos or something, and then I'll give them to you, and you can put them on your website or whatever on your Facebook page." So he said, "Okay." So I went to one of the earliest meetings in 2019, and I'll never forget the looks on people's faces. And I know all those people now, but when they saw some photographer snapping photos, it was like the look on their face was, "Who is this guy?"
Mm-hmm.
And one of my first legislators I ever met was from the north, Representative Heather Scott. So she doesn't remember, but I do. I'll never forget, I already had legislation for her, and I'd only been there, just over a year. It cracks me up. And then, of course, Janice McGeehan, she came the following month, so I took pictures of her, former lieutenant governor, and they go, "Can you take a picture?" It was her with Controller Brandon Wolf and some other guy, and so I said, "Okay." I took a picture of them three, and I go, "Well, this must be a good picture. I'm going to take a picture too." So they took a picture of me and at the time Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeehan, and we're still friends, by the way. And so after that, I just started going to Central Committee meetings. I started to we're having a 20 this was 2019, but as time went on, they were starting to gear up for the 2020 elections. And so, I helped so many people over the years with their gladly, by the way, I want to say, with their campaigns, special events, in-kind portraiture, that kind of stuff. And so, and I guess the rest is history. People know me. And one of my things is regarding legislators, probably another topic of yours. I have a something in my heart that is called loyalty. Okay,
Mm.
loyalty to me means you don't go and attack other Republicans, or you don't in public, be derogatory against any fellow Republican, no matter if you don't agree with them. There's plenty of Republicans I don't agree with, trust me. But
Amen.
I don't think it behooves me to cause waves with people just because they might not have voted the way I like, or they have a different level of conservatism. And so that bothers me a lot regarding what a lot of people do, going against good candidates during election time. And it's okay to discuss their voting record and that kind of stuff, but to really be abusive, I think, is not right. And that's why I think when I go to the Capitol, I can knock on a legislator's door and talk to them about any topic. A lot of times I'll just go into a legislator's office and just talk about non-political things, which kind of is a fresher breath air to the legislators. So
It is.
that's one of my beefs, is when people really think they gotta excoriate. Although there's a Democrat website I get a kick out of antagonizing them a little bit. But I always antagonize with facts and figures, but you can still never they can still never believe you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's one thing that you and I have in common, and I've understood the dedication and the loyalty that you've had not only to the movement but to your friends. And I personally and publicly would tell anybody that they don't make them like Daniel anymore. It doesn't seem like, or they're very far and few between. I mean, I can tell you if I needed something, you're there. And I think that that kind of personality is so rare and it's so needed because the more that we start eating I call it eating our own children, even though we're not really eating our own children, but when we're destroying our progress in moving forward in the restoration of liberty, process or whatever it is, I've often stated that some of the conservatives, in the name of liberty, are using Marxist techniques to be able to try to, force people to come about. And I think maybe you might be different than me, but for me, I can tell you that there's probably been many people that have tried to wake me up over time, and I just was not in a place for that. And I think that there's a time and a place where everybody is religiously, philosophically, health wise, even, and all of these different things. And people will not make the jump until they're ready. And at some point, we have to decide whether we're going to be there for them or whether we're not. And if we start isolating people, then that's where the real damage is being done. And I think that if I were to guess, the creation of this new nonprofit that I'm trying to launch is specifically designed to be able to help promote what you and I believe, and that is civil discourse. If you disagree on a topic, we should be able to discuss that. And so part of that is, when we're dealing with an issue and it's a contentious issue, that people understand both sides of the issue before they make a decision. The Article 5 was a big one. Prop 1 was a big one. And there's so many others. And it's just, I'm so sick of just this garbage dog eat dog thing where, nobody's perfect enough. Nobody's religious enough. Nobody's conservative enough. There's nobody that's this and that. The truth be told, you probably couldn't find anybody that believes religiously, for example, just like you. Nobody believes just like me. There are people that are close. But if I were to assault anybody else that was even remotely close to me, that's not going to do anything for anyone, you know? And
Yeah,
so
you're right.
I'm really glad that you made that. I'm really glad that you made a point
An
in
example,
that.
if you don't mind an example, I supported Doug Traubel for sheriff, Not
Mm-hmm.
that I have anything against Sheriff Matt Gifford, but when he was voted the number one candidate back in 2021, I went and had meetings with him, and I took people to have meetings, so I got to know him a lot during that time. And so over the course of a few years, we became friends. We'd go to lunch here and there. He even came and helped me in my yard because I'm older and stuff. I had to move all these rocks and just do some trimming of trees and stuff. And he came over and helped me. And you know what? One thing about me is I don't turn my back on friends. And
Yeah.
so any friend out there, I'm going to be loyal to you. And anytime you tell me anything, it stays in my brain. And the good news though is I probably forget 10 minutes later. So
Well, I got to tell you, and all the things that you're telling me about history and your understanding of stuff, man, you're sharp as a tack. I mean, I'm wondering, holy cow, how do I even measure up to this guy? So
I'm
you haven't
just
you haven't
I'm just
lost it
me,
all.
little old me, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Um, wow. So, I guess when you became politically involved, uh, some people will naturally gravitate to one thing, and some people will stay there. And then some people will move around. Like for me, when I started, I was protesting at Planned Parenthood. I realized that just wasn't a place for me. And then I tried something else and something else and something else. When you became politically involved, what were you involved in? And do you feel like you stayed there or did you move on somewhere else? And where do you feel most comfortable in your involvement? Do you think?
Well, I consider myself to be a staunch conservative. A conservative, though, that is not going to bash people. I'm a Christian, and um, just the fact that my conservatism isn't going to hurt other people. Okay, and I mean I can listen. I look at both sides. I take the Idaho Press Tribune. I read all kinds of information on the internet on both sides of the aisle. I talk to the legislators on the other side of the aisle periodically. I agree with one senator wants to run a bill where landlords can't make money off of background check. So if a background check is $25, that's how much they charge the prospective tenant. And I agree with that. No landlord should be making money on background checks because I know for a fact as a veteran, and I'm with the Disabled American Veterans, by the way, and we help veterans get into apartments here and there. It is very expensive to get into an apartment.
Yeah.
First and last months plus security deposit. And it's so expensive in this real estate market. And so my conservatism is basically built on godly principles, you might say. And
Yeah.
so I have to answer to God one day, and I'm not perfect. I say a bad word here and there. Usually when I drop something or I can't remember something. What was his name? Or I have to look on my phone. How do you spell such and such?
Well, at least you're here and there. My words are here, there, and everywhere. So you're
Anyways,
you're better than I am.
that's another part of my life right now is I'm helping veterans with I'm the Idaho State adjutant for the DAV.
Mhm.
I help numerous veterans file claims. I'm proud of that. We just helped take a hospital bed into this veteran's home who just contracted Lou Gehrig's disease. We built ramps for a couple of people just recently, and I'll be going to Washington, D.C. for a DAV conference where I can learn more on how to better serve veterans as a voluntary basis. And the DAV National, 80% of their donations go to veterans. And at the local level and the state level, 100%, because we're all volunteers. We don't accept any payment for any of our, uh, you know, volunteer services. So
Well, that's
one
interesting
thing I
that
want to tell people if they know of any veteran in Idaho that needs help with filing a claim or they need some kind of a scooter, a wheelchair, a walker, whatever, they can ask most people and they know how to get a hold of me. And I do have a website if I can give it out. Not a
for sure.
web.
I usually do that at the end. So we'll go ahead and tell me what it is now, and we'll go ahead and wrap that. We'll put that in at the end too. What
Yeah,
is it?
my official Disabled American Veterans email is real simple. It's DAV Dan Murphy at Yahoo. So again, we want to help as many veterans as we can, and that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, actually, along with sometimes I'm going from a photo assignment to the phone to help a veteran or meet him at Chili's. I meet him at Chili's to get the process going right on Broadway. And so,
Well, it's kind of funny. No matter where I go, there you are. You know what I mean? You're just. I've been to Idaho Falls, and there you are. I'm in Pocatello, there you are. I'm in Twin Falls, there you are. And I'm in Ada County, there you are. I'm like, wait a minute, how many of you are there?
let's be honest, you're stalking me.
Well, I just got to hang out with. I got to hang out with people I like. It's a lonely job sometimes what we do, and it's thankless for sure. And I think people that understand what loyalty is and understand what friendship is, um, that we let other people understand that. And I think that's a really good part of this interview is to be able to not only just see Daniel with a camera and his veterans hat, but to be able to understand what makes.
Maybe hat.
Yeah, Navy hat. What did I say?
You said
What?
veterans hat.
Oh, veterans hat. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So I was going to ask you. We'll go back a bit. Since you've been here for a while, you know lots of people, and you've been around the state. One of the things that I'm really concerned about is what I remember when I first knew Heather Scott, and she had a website. I think it was called Growing Idaho, or something like that.
Yeah.
And with emphasis on the word growing. It appears that we've forgotten what growing is. We'd rather shrink it, destroy it, or whatever. At least that's my opinion. So, a couple of the questions you can answer them either way are is one of them is what kind of successes do you believe that you've seen since you've been here, and what kind of obstacles do you feel like you've seen that you believe that we need to overcome?
When I first got here in 2017, everyone's good friend, well, most everyone, Greg Pruitt, he was in charge of the Second Amendment.
Yes.
I'll never forget, he had a big rally at some park over there by the VA. And I asked him, well, I knew it was going to come. I asked if I could take pictures, because I don't want to overstep anyone's bounds.
For sure.
And so I actually asked him, he go, yeah, come take pictures. So I photographed that, and I knew how his Second Amendment really was dear to his heart. And he's been working on great legislation for our Second Amendment here in Idaho, and that's one of our cherished um, things we have regarding this our freedoms, you might say. And so that's one thing that I really appreciate Greg Pruitt for, and naturally Senator
Or
Christie
Zito.
is a part
Yep.
of that too. And we can't give up our guns. And I know that there's some legislation, pro-gun legislation uh, currently. I can't know the number right now, what they are, but I know our good friend, Representative David Levitt has something going on. I'll have to get it with him and figure out what it is.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I was really proud about what was going on in Idaho, because as John Lott once said, more guns, less crime. And I
Hmm.
think that's true here in Idaho. We do have less crime than other areas that basically, across the country. So I got to do something real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. You're being recorded, so make sure you smile.
Okay, hold on. Let's see here. I do this. I wonder if I could. What's happening is I was using available light from the windows, but now since it's sunset, here we are. Let's see here. How can I do this? Oh, here we go. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to maybe turn on a little light. I forgot about the that's maybe too bright. I don't know. We'll see. That's good. Okay, sorry for the interruption, folks.
No, it's hey, Daniel. That's one thing. He's pretty particular about images. So
I'm
it's,
particular about images. I
it's like,
forgot we had sunset coming up, but I do have two little rules on my images: no claw and no
okay.
sunglasses. But everyone knows about that.
I think I've been guilty of the both of those at some point, maybe more than once.
Yeah,
So I agree with you. The stand your ground. I think they're planning on strengthening that. Senator Zito and I'm happy to say, go back quite some time, and she's really been something else to watch.
yeah,
Even before she got into office, Greg, of course, I've known for a long time. He used to live where I lived in Middleton, and he's done some really great work. So it's good to be able to see him. I love the fact that he's laser focused on the issue. Um, and I think part of what I'm trying to do as I come alongside these other folks is to be able to help complement them in helping network them and hopefully grow these all of these organizations by plugging people in more they want to go. And I had to ask you a question about
okay.
what you'd said before, and that was about when you moved to Idaho. And this might come out of left field because it wasn't planned, but when when you moved to Idaho and you said that you didn't know anybody, one of the things that I'm trying to do with this organization as people start to get to know what it is to become a resource hub for the things around the state. Um, if there was something that you felt like needed to be done to be able to plug you in faster, do you have any idea what that would be off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, you got to treat people with respect, number one. Okay. You have to,
But I mean, as far as plugging them in and getting them involved.
well, I would start at an early age. I don't think our GOP works hard enough to get get the young high schoolers involved with politics. I know they have Ada County has the young Republicans, but I'd like to get the kids if possible. I know there's parents out there that are conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know they have conservative kids, and I'd like to see these parents with the conservative kids get more involved. Start a Republican club in high school. I don't think Republican clubs are going to be such a bad thing, especially for the next 4 years. And that's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
More young kids um, that are actual have the parents that are conservative to get more involved. And I think that's one thing I think that would really strengthen the Idaho GOP. And it's the same thing for the DAV. We got a bunch of old codgers. We need some new blood. And
Yeah.
I think the GOP, everyone's getting older, and if we could bring in some new high school, junior high school kids that are conservative, especially the homeschoolers or the Christian schools, they should be having, I'm not sure what the rules are regarding politics at a Christian school, but there should be some kind of off-campus clubs where because I know I have my granddaughter, she goes to a private Christian school, and most of those parents are conservatives. And I would like to see a little bit more involvement with conservative parents and their young kids.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, as you know, I was the coordinator for the John Birch Society for 11 years, and one of the things that JBS is known for is having old codgers as members, right? And so, and even the members themselves are like, well, how you guys need to start going after the young kids.
Yeah.
And so, uh, being the organization that it was, you know, we lacked or we were deficient or whatever in some way of figuring out what was necessary to be able to generate interest in the youth. Now, you can go back and you can look at Ron Paul. For some reason, you had this old doctor, right? This old doctor, libertarian guy, and when when he started coming around, or we started noticing him, or whatever, it was clear to me that he had done whatever it was to be able to attract young people, right?
Mhm.
And so I was always enamored by that, and I thought, gosh, what is it that we need to do that he did that we're not? And so that's been a real difficult thing for me too, because you know most of the people that we know that are our age are still asking that question, no matter what they're involved in.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, so going back to the question I had asked earlier, as far as obstacles that you see, negatives, if you will, what kinds of things do you see that really bother you that you wish that we could overcome um, to be able to get where we need to go?
Well, like I said earlier, quit picking on people, quit excoriating them, quit bullying them, quit harassing them. Um,
It's
that
especially with unsubstantiated opinions, right? Or their
well,
own assumptions about something.
I
Is
would
that what
say
you're saying?
unsubstantiated. See, I'm old. I can't say long words anymore.
Gotcha, buddy.
Uh, you know, I would say bogus claims.
Yeah.
That's kind of a synonym for that word. And there's a lot of that going on. And I think if Idahoans, especially in politics, can learn to try to treat their fellow Republican or their fellow Idahoan with a little bit more respect and kindness, and I think we go a long ways to improve the general, welfare of people's lives, you might say.
Well, I mean, I know for sure I'm somebody that has made no bones about, look, if I'm wrong about something, call me out. And I don't look at call me out the phrase as derogatory. I'm like, if I my desire is to be able to love on people, to inform as many people as I can about what they're missing, no matter how good I am at it. But if I'm wrong about something, I would expect you to call me or and say, Tom, you know, I've heard this about you, what's going on, or I'm seeing this about you, what's going on, or something like that, and allow me to be able to defend myself, even if it's in public. I've told people before, Greg Graff, for example, right? He and I go after it all the time, and you know, he's always labeling me like, oh, you're one of those extreme this and that and the other, and he won't. He just. I told him, I said, let's talk about this. Let's do a public. We'll do you and I. We'll do a video. We'll talk about it, and if your interest is embarrassing me and burying me, then let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And he just won't do it. And so I'm really glad that he's still been our interactions have still been rather cordial, even though he does kind of jab or poke the stick. But I think that we should, as liberty people that believe in free speech and we believe in honor and we believe in integrity because we all say that we're Christians, one of the things I think that we forget is there are people that are watching us that might not be religious. They might not be our political affiliation. But if we want to win them to our side and grow liberty in Idaho, right? And focus on this restoration that we all believe is important, then we have to be willing to be open with one another, right? And to be able to have that kind of dialogue. Isn't that really what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to be able to talk to people in a fashion that doesn't really harm them. But at the same token, sometimes there are people that it's tough to talk to. It's like talking to a brick wall. So you kind of move on. You have to basically, you know, understand that you're not going to get through to these people. And so,
Maybe
um,
that's God's job. Maybe our job is just to plant the seed.
yeah, that could be true too. Um, and there's enough hate and discontent going around Idaho, and that doesn't do much good to have a great state other than what we have already. But that's just me. I try to treat people as if they wanted to, as I want to be treated. I mean, I'm not perfect by all means, and I'm sure I might have made a couple people upset, and I apologize. I don't know who they are though, but if I have, I apologize.
They will never come and tell you, though. You can almost be sure of that. I will,
I've
but
had a couple people. I've had a couple people, but we've. It's good that can iron out differences and whatnot.
right. So we've got about 7-3, about 8 minutes left. So so I got a couple more questions for you. If you had a message for the viewers of this interview, what would your message be? Do you think on
My message,
anything? Huh?
my message would be to think about what you're talking about. Okay, do some research. Learn about what people you disagree with are thinking about, and that might help you understand their philosophy. And but I would just say overall, try to treat people with respect. Loyalty is missing. Being loyal to people is one of the most important values anyone can have. And if you notice Donald Trump's first term, there were so many people that were not loyal to him, writing books or excoriating um,
Wrongfully.
wrongfully.
Yeah.
And if I was in Trump's inner circle, I would never, ever tell anyone what's told to me. I would never write a book. And there's people in the Capitol right now who know that I don't express um, what they tell me, and so I think they're happy about that. Number one, because if I were to tell people a lot of the things I know, the word would get around, and so that's one of the things. You know, don't pick. I mean, person A would complain about person B. I would say nothing. Person B would complain about person A, and I just listen. I don't say anything, and
Just shake your head.
that's the kind
Oh
of
my God.
yeah, that's the kind of stuff we don't need, especially in our grand old party.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so as far as people becoming more active, let's say there are people becoming more active all the time. There are people that are just moving here, they want to become active. If you um, if if you could recommend how they would engage or how they would get involved in the state, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them to contact your local county Republican Central Committee, just as I did, and that would be the number one thing that could help them. I mean, there's other avenues too. Maybe look online and find out who your precinct committee man or woman is, and that's another way. Or you
Look me up,
go
or
to
look me up,
chat
or look me up.
look up Tom Munns. Yeah, number one guy right here.
Oh, that's
Get
good,
involved
man.
by just like I did. Contact your local Republican Central Committee in our 44 counties.
And I get kind of frustrated, honestly, about that. I'm just like, why? So people have this disdain for the Republican Party, in off election years, and then during the election years, everybody runs to the Republican Party. And I had a question, and you don't have to answer these, but maybe just for something for the viewers to consider is number one, if you were going to involve yourself in the GOP, what would you hope to gain from that? And then the other question is with your involvement in the GOP, what have you seen that has really increased your desire to continue to support it? Now, I'm not saying because I'm not really political, right? I don't want to get involved in the paradigm or whatever, so I deviate from that big time. But I recognize people's desire to do that, and I think it's if I could say this without being disrespectful, I believe it's a low hanging fruit. It's a no brainer, if you will. If I'm going to get involved in politics, they associate Idaho politics with being red, and red is the color of the Republican Party. So therefore, I'm going to get involved in the Republican Party, right? Oh, I'm wearing blue. That's horrible.
I was wearing blue, but I had to switch to red just
Crap.
um,
I
just
can't believe it.
there are different levels of republicanism in this state. We all know that. We all know who they are. We know who the more staunch conservatives are. We know who the ones are the softer Republicans. Okay, and that's just their thought process, and it's up to the voters and good proper campaigning to either weed out people they don't like that may not fit the 100% conservative movement or the 100% stauncher Republican movement. But I'm not going to bash those people that are a little bit softer than me because
They
I,
could come around.
I may need their help one day, just like I did yesterday. And
Yeah.
I mean, there was this. If something becomes public, I think I'm able to talk about it. It did become public last session where I went to talk to a legislator and about an issue, and a lot of people may or may not like this particular legislator, but to me, he's a human being, and I want to go talk to him. And he had told me that his house was defaced with Nazi signs and graffiti and everything, and that brought tears to my eyes because I don't care who you are, okay, you don't deserve to have that type of behavior on your property, even if you're a Democrat. And I just, it became public knowledge throughout the day, and so, you know,
Well, it's not only the fact that it's a crime, right? I mean, it's defacing someone's private property, right?
yeah, because of us of maybe how he voted on a bill or something, and it's not right. And so I had tears the whole day just thinking about it. And I went to the Speaker Moyle and told him about it, and he had known. And we chatted for a few minutes to about this whole situation. This is the kind of stuff that bothers me. Um, take ripping down campaign signs. That's another thing that bothers me. Defacing
Unbelievable.
them. That's
Yeah.
you can't do that to people.
Yeah. No.
Candidates just because you disagree with them. It's private property. They spent money on those signs, and don't vote for them if you don't like them.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yep. It's actually true. Okay, so as we finish, I got one more question for you. If there was something that this is where I was going to ask you about your websites and contact information. If you're involved in something that you're hoping to get other people involved in, maybe now's a good time to be able to give any contact information you want, email, phone number, uh, whatever topic you're going to be talking about. You mentioned the veterans earlier, right?
That's
The
correct. DAV Dan Murphy at Yahoo.
DAV Dan Murphy at yahoo.com. And what does this actually do? This emails you, right?
Emails right to my DAV particular email address where I answer veterans questions or if anyone knows of a veteran in need, they can call me anytime.
Okay.
Our
Are there any websites or anything that people should go to if they want more information or just email you?
DAV website is dav-idaho.org.
Okay. And
Yeah,
as far as doing camera stuff, you pretty much go wherever you want. So I don't know
I,
if people could even contact you for that or not, but maybe I overstepped by even asking that. It was just cool. It's just cool to see you everywhere with the camera. That's all.
Well, people call me for a portrait here and there and whatever. I'm happy to accommodate my favorite politicians.
Nice. Well, I'm honored to have you take a picture of me. That means a lot. I must be one of your favorite people that maybe not be a politician.
Yeah, but I just remind people I'm retired still, but I don't really like to accept money, but sometimes it happens. So I'm very appreciative of some of the tips you might say I've gotten from people. Some of them have been pretty huge too, and that warms my heart also that someone would think to do that, and or people would think to do that actually, because there's more than one. And I don't want to mention names, of course, but so there are great people in Idaho, and it just warms my heart. I have family in California that are really staunch socialist, liberal Democrats. They don't talk to me, and that
Right.
bothers me.
Yeah.
Okay, and they won't call me on my birthday. They will bash my other conservative sister who's disabled down in Visalia. But you know what? I have my family right here in Idaho. All of my conservative friends um, that I know all over the state, and that's what's dear to my heart. All these people that I've come across in the last 4 or 5 years. Um, I don't think in the Constitution or the Bible that says family members you got to like them per se, but it just tears at my heart what some of these people do. Um, Three sisters told my conservative sister they don't want to have anything to do with her,
Mhm.
and that's terrible.
Yeah.
These are
People are
sisters.
getting divorced over it, and relationships are being split in half just because
Yeah,
of their political indifference. And the sad part is most of it is because of people's assumption about what they see, not necessarily based on any facts.
exactly, and it's
And
just
that's what kills me. Yeah.
so
Well, Dan,
I'm very proud to know so many great people in this state, um, and they're dear to my heart. And anytime they rush up for a hug, it's even better, and or a handshake. And before we go, are we almost out?
we are almost out.
Can I show a picture of a better looking Daniel Murphy?
Sure, you go ahead, Daniel. Is that you?
That'd be me.
How old were you?
Well, I was probably maybe first grade, maybe.
Oh, nice. Well, you don't look like you're at that weird stage. You know, the kids they go through.
I think that's the last time my mom said I was a handsome, cute kid.
We could see the resemblance for sure, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you haven't aged that much.
There he is. The Catholic. Notice the Catholic school uniform, by the way.
Yeah, that's for sure. Good.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Well, Daniel, I'm glad that I can say it on behalf of myself, but I mean, I think everybody that knows you understands your heart. Everybody understands the importance of friendship and loyalty, and commitment, and all of those different things. And like I said, I for one definitely commend you for that. You actually give me some hope in the fact that you came from. This is a joke, everybody. You came from California, and you happen to make such a mark here in the state. And I think a lot of it is if our state is going to grow and we're going to get people from out of state. In the back of my mind, and I'm looking for any advice that you have along the way. Um, Obviously, at another time because we're up against it, is to try to figure out how to get people engaged so that they can be a part of the process like you and I are. So I really appreciate the time for us to be able to get to know you, Daniel. I've learned a lot too, and I'm just glad that you gave me the opportunity to do it. So I really appreciate it.
I just want to mention Senator Tammy Nichols' chicken bill. Do you know about that?
Chickenville.
There's a chicken bill where people in Idaho can have chickens in their backyard.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, the most major question that I would ask in front of the committee is, how do you get chickens to heaven? Do you know?
No.
You burn the hell out of them.
Oh, no. You're funny, brother.
Okay, that's it.
Nice. All right, man. Well, I plan on uploading these to Spotify and Rumble and YouTube. So, hopefully it makes you more famous than you already are.
I don't need to be famous. I just enjoy doing what I do for as many people as I can.
Me too. Me too. Well, God bless you, my friend. Hopefully I see you soon.
You will.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay,
See ya.
take care.
Bye.